The arrival. Richard Hastings stepped out of his sleek black luxury car, adjusting his perfectly tailored suit as he surveyed the bustling scene around the Grand Vista Hotel. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden hue across the expansive grounds, its rays glistening off the hotel's impressive facade. The Grand Vista, a symbol of opulence and prestige, stood tall and proud, embodying Richard's own aspirations. His heart raced with excitement as he approached the revolving doors, the sound of clicking polished leather shoes echoing against the polished marble floor of the lobby. As he entered, the lavish interior greeted him with an extravagant display of crystal chandeliers and plush furnishings, each corner exuding an aura of wealth and power. The air was scented with fresh flowers and a hint of citrus, mingling seamlessly with the subtle notes of an elegant piano playing in the background. For Richard, this was more than just a hotel. It was a gateway to the upper echelons of society where the elite congregated, and business deals were forged over glasses of fine wine and gourmet meals. A young woman with a bright smile stood behind the front desk, her demeanor warm yet professional. "Welcome to the Grand Vista Hotel, sir. How may I assist you today?" she asked, her fingers poised above the keyboard. "Good evening. I have a reservation under Richard Hastings," he replied, flashing a confident smile, one that had worked wonders in the boardrooms and upscale social circles he frequented. "Ah yes, Mr. Hastings," the receptionist said, her fingers dancing across the keyboard. "We have you in one of our executive suites. Your stay with us is for 3 nights, is that correct?" "That's right." Richard nodded, his mind already racing with thoughts of the crucial business meeting ahead. "I was wondering if you could tell me when the hotel's new owner might be available. I'd like to schedule a meeting as soon as possible." The young woman's smile faltered slightly, an expression of hesitation crossing her face. "I'm sorry, Mr. Hastings, but I'm not privy to the owner's schedule. However, I can pass along your request to management if you'd like." Richard's jaw tightened imperceptibly. He was not accustomed to being denied anything, especially information. He quickly smoothed his features, reminding himself that such obstacles were merely a part of the game. "That would be wonderful, thank you. Please let them know it's of utmost importance," he replied, his tone carefully measured. As she handed him his room key, Richard's mind was already formulating strategies. He had read rumors that the new owner of the Grand Vista was a visionary in the hospitality industry, and aligning himself with such a powerful force could open doors he had only dreamed of. The receptionist's politeness did little to diminish his ambitions. If anything, it fueled his desire for success. With a spring in his step, Richard made his way to the elevators, anticipation growing with each passing moment. He was Richard Hastings, after all. For him, success was not just an option, it was an inevitability. The elevator doors slid open with a soft ding, and he stepped inside, pressing the button for the executive suite. As he ascended, he couldn't shake the feeling that this trip was pivotal. The looming meeting, the opportunity to engage with the new owner, could be the launchpad for expanding his empire in ways he had only imagined. Stepping into his executive suite, Richard's eyes widened at the sight before him. The room was a testament to luxury, adorned with plush carpets, elegant furniture, and a breathtaking view of the city skyline. He felt a surge of satisfaction wash over him. This was exactly the kind of place where significant deals were made. The decor exuded sophistication, every detail meticulously attended to, from the fresh flowers on the coffee table to the bottle of premium champagne chilling in an ice bucket. As he unpacked his designer luggage, Richard noticed a glossy brochure lying on the desk. Curiosity piqued. He picked it up and studied it closely. The brochure detailed an upcoming event where the new owner would be introduced to the hotel's most esteemed guests. A smile played on Richard's lips as he muttered, "Perfect." This event would be the ideal opportunity to make his move, to cement his presence in this prestigious space. Walking over to the large window, he gazed out at the bustling city below. Staff members scurried about in the hotel's beautifully manicured gardens, setting up what appeared to be an extravagant outdoor venue. Clearly, No expense was being spared for this introduction. Richard's mind raced as he envisioned himself mingling with the elite, discussing potential partnerships over hors d'oeuvres and cocktails. The new owner, he speculated, was likely a distinguished gentleman, someone who shared his appreciation for the finer things in life. He imagined them bonding over their shared interests, investments, luxury, and the art of deal-making. His thoughts drifted to the potential partnerships he could forge here. The hospitality industry was rife with opportunities, and Richard was eager to stake his claim. However, beneath his ambition lay a hunger for recognition and status. He wanted not just to be a part of this world, but to dominate it. That evening, Richard made plans for dinner at one of the hotel's exclusive restaurants, eager to indulge in the finest cuisine the Grand Vista had to offer. He envisioned a night of lavish meals and extravagant wine, surrounded by the city's elite. He had always believed that food was an integral part of any business meeting, a way to cultivate relationships and create a sense of camaraderie. As he prepared for the evening, Richard's thoughts lingered on the power dynamics at play. He was acutely aware of the privilege that came with his wealth, a privilege that often translated into unearned respect and deference. It was a tool he wielded expertly, using it to navigate spaces where others might falter. But as Richard dressed for the night, a faint echo of a different narrative brushed against the edges of his mind. He recalled his upbringing, the values instilled in him by his parents, who had always emphasized the importance of treating everyone with respect, regardless of their background. Yet in this high-stakes world of luxury and ambition, those lessons felt distant, overshadowed by the relentless pursuit of success. With a final adjustment to his tie, Richard dismissed those thoughts and embraced the role he had created for himself. After all, this was the world he had chosen, a world where power and influence reigned supreme, and every interaction could either elevate or diminish one's status. As he descended the grand staircase of the hotel, the shimmering chandeliers above him casting a golden glow, Richard felt invincible. The night was young, and the possibilities were endless. He could sense the excitement in the air, the promise of what lay ahead. Little did he know, the events of the following day would challenge his perspective and force him to confront the consequences of his actions. Tonight, he would bask in the glamour and indulge in the pleasures of wealth. Tomorrow, however, he would face a reckoning, a twist of fate that would shake the very foundations of his carefully constructed world. The encounter. The lavish dining room of the Grand Vista Hotel was a masterpiece of elegance, designed to impress even the most discerning guests. Crystal chandeliers dripped with light, illuminating the space and casting gentle shadows over the tables adorned with white tablecloths and polished silverware. The clinking of glasses and the soft murmur of conversation filled the air as guests indulged in gourmet dishes crafted by the hotel's renowned chefs. Richard Hastings entered the restaurant with a sense of purpose, his confident stride drawing the attention of those seated around. He was a man accustomed to the finest things in life, and he moved through the room like a conductor guiding an orchestra. As he approached the hostess, a young woman with a poised demeanor, he felt the weight of the room's expectations on his shoulders. "Good evening, Mr. Hastings," she greeted him warmly, her smile genuine. "Your table is ready. Right this way, please." Richard followed her, his eyes scanning the room for familiar faces. He spotted a few influential figures, business leaders he had crossed paths with in the past, their laughter punctuating the atmosphere. He knew that tonight was not just about dining. It was about networking, forging connections that could propel his ambitions forward. The hostess led him to a table near the window, offering a stunning view of the city skyline. As he took his seat, he settled into the luxurious surroundings, the plush chair cradling him as if to remind him of his status. The waiter approached, presenting the evening's menu, a culinary journey that promised an exquisite experience. Richard glanced through the options, his eyes lighting up at the prospect of savoring dishes that featured the finest ingredients. "May I recommend the lobster bisque to start?" the waiter suggested, his tone polished and professional. "It's one of our signature dishes." Richard nodded, a flicker of excitement sparking within him. Absolutely. I'll have the bisque and the filet mignon for the main course, please, and a glass of your finest Cabernet. As the waiter retreated, Richard leaned back in his chair, savoring the anticipation of the evening. He pulled out his phone, scanning through his messages, but his thoughts were interrupted by the arrival of a familiar face. "Richard, fancy seeing you here," a voice called out. He looked up to see Mark, a fellow entrepreneur, striding towards him. Mark was well known in the business community for his sharp acumen and an uncanny ability to identify lucrative opportunities. "Mark, good to see you," Richard replied, extending a hand. They exchanged pleasantries, and Mark took the seat across from him. The conversation quickly shifted to business, both men discussing the latest trends and potential collaborations. Richard felt invigorated by the dialogue, each idea sparking new possibilities in his mind. As they delved deeper into conversation, Richard noticed a family entering the restaurant, a black family, radiating warmth and happiness. They were dressed impeccably, but their aura was different from the cold, polished demeanor of many of the other guests. The mother, an elegant woman with a bright smile, led her husband and 2 children to a nearby table, their laughter cutting through the restaurant's atmosphere like a refreshing breeze. Richard found himself observing them, intrigued by the family's genuine joy. They seemed to bask in each other's company, unaware of the world around them. He couldn't help but feel a pang of envy. They possessed something he sometimes felt was missing from his life: authentic connection and warmth. Yet the moment was fleeting, and he quickly returned to the conversation with Mark. "Did you hear about the new owner of the Grand Vista?" Mark asked, leaning in conspiratorially. "Word is, they're shaking things up in the hospitality scene. A real game changer." Richard nodded, his mind racing with thoughts of the upcoming event. "I've been trying to get a meeting with them. It could be a significant opportunity for us." Just then, Richard's attention was drawn back to the family. The youngest child, a little girl with curly hair, was animatedly recounting a story to her parents, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Richard felt an unexpected warmth in his chest, but the moment was disrupted as Richard caught the eye of another guest across the room, a wealthy millionaire known for his ruthlessness in business dealings. He was engaged in conversation with a few associates, his expression hard and calculating. As Richard's gaze lingered on the man, he felt a rush of determination. He didn't want to merely participate in this world. He wanted to dominate it. The thought of establishing a connection with the new hotel owner was his ticket to the upper echelons of the industry. Yet, in his pursuit of ambition, Richard couldn't shake the underlying sense that he was drifting away from the core values he had once held dear. The waiter returned with his lobster bisque, steaming and aromatic. Richard picked up the spoon, savoring the first taste, letting the flavors dance on his palate. "Delicious," he remarked to Mark, who was enjoying his own meal. As they continued to share ideas and ambitions, Richard's thoughts occasionally drifted back to the family at the neighboring table. They seemed to embody a simplicity that he had long since lost, unaffected by the pursuit of wealth and status. The father, a robust man with a warm smile, leaned in to listen intently to his children, his pride evident. Richard's envy flared again, but he quickly extinguished it. This was business. He needed to focus on securing his future, and the stakes were higher than ever. The conversation shifted to potential investments, and Richard's eyes lit up as he pitched his latest ideas. Mark listened intently, nodding along, clearly impressed. But as the evening unfolded, Richard found himself glancing at the family more frequently, drawn to their laughter and genuine interactions. They ordered dessert, and Richard caught snippets of their conversation, the way they teased each other, the way their eyes sparkled with joy. The contrast between his own solitary pursuit and their warm familial bond struck him deeply. "Are you even listening?" Mark's voice broke through Richard's reverie, pulling him back to the present. "Sorry, just got lost in thought," Richard admitted, shaking his head to clear the fog. Mark raised an eyebrow. "I get it. It's easy to get distracted in a place like this. but don't lose sight of your goals. We're on the brink of something big here." Richard nodded, forcing himself to refocus. They spent the next hour discussing strategies, numbers, and potential partners. Yet, with each passing moment, the family's laughter continued to echo in the background, a reminder of what he might be missing. Finally, as the evening came to a close, Richard made his way to the restroom, needing a moment alone to collect his thoughts. As he washed his hands, he caught a glimpse of himself in the mirror, a sharply dressed businessman with a carefully curated persona. Yet, behind the confident facade, he felt an unsettling emptiness. Stepping back into the dining area, he noticed that the family was preparing to leave. As they gathered their things, the little girl spotted him and waved enthusiastically, her innocence radiating a warmth he hadn't expected. Richard couldn't help but smile back, feeling a strange connection, even if brief. Just as the family passed his table, he overheard the mother speaking softly to her husband. "I'm so proud of you all. This was a wonderful dinner," she said, her eyes shining with love. Richard felt a pang of longing, a fleeting wish to have that same kind of connection. Then, unexpectedly, the father turned to Richard and offered a nod of acknowledgement. "Good evening, sir," he said politely, a warm smile gracing his face. "Good evening," Richard replied, his voice a bit more formal than intended. As the family exited the restaurant, Richard couldn't shake the feeling of having missed something significant. Their departure left a strange void in the vibrant atmosphere of the dining room. He returned to his seat, his mind racing with thoughts of ambition, success, and the value of genuine connection. Mark noticed his distraction. "What's up with you tonight? You seem off," he observed, concern mingling with curiosity. "Just thinking about what really matters," Richard admitted, a hint of vulnerability creeping into his voice. "Sometimes I wonder if I'd lost sight of what's truly important." Mark leaned back, a contemplative look on his face. "It's easy to get caught up in this world, Richard. Just remember, success isn't only measured in deals and numbers. Sometimes it's the connections we forge along the way that truly count." Richard nodded, but the words hung heavy in the air. He knew he was at a crossroads, standing on the edge of a life defined by ambition and wealth, yet yearning for something deeper, a sense of belonging and love. The dinner wrapped up, and as Richard prepared to leave, he glanced at the family's empty table. He could still feel the echoes of their laughter resonating in his heart. The evening had brought him face to face with a stark reality he couldn't ignore. In the days that followed, Richard would have to confront the consequences of his choices that would ultimately force him to reconcile his relentless pursuit of success with the need for authentic connections. The luxurious life he had built was about to be tested, as the unexpected twist awaited him, hidden just around the corner. The confrontation. The morning sun streamed through the expansive windows of Richard Hastings' executive suite, casting a warm glow across the plush carpet and the elegantly furnished room. He stirred awake, the events of the previous evening lingering in his mind like an unresolved melody. The laughter of the family he had observed at dinner echoed faintly in his thoughts, intertwining with the ambitions that fueled his relentless drive. As he rubbed the sleep from his eyes, he knew today would be pivotal, not just for his business, but for his understanding of himself. After a quick shower and an impeccable grooming routine, Richard dressed in a crisp white shirt, an impeccably tailored navy blazer, and designer trousers. He examined himself in the mirror, adjusting his tie with precision. He was a man of power, and today he was determined to project confidence and authority. He picked up his phone, scrolling through emails while mentally preparing for the day ahead. The meeting with the new owner of the Grand Vista Hotel was scheduled for the afternoon, and he was determined to make a lasting impression. Richard stepped out of his suite and into the lavish corridors of the hotel, each step echoing his anticipation. He made his way to the hotel's executive lounge for breakfast, envisioning himself engaging in strategic conversations that could further his ambitions. As he entered the lounge, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, accompanied by the soft clinking of cutlery and the low hum of conversations. He chose a table by the window, basking in the view of the bustling city below. The skyline was alive with activity, a constant reminder of the opportunities that awaited him. He ordered a gourmet breakfast, indulging in avocado toast and poached eggs, while keeping an eye on the entrance. He was eager to connect with anyone who might be beneficial for his business strategy. As he sipped his coffee, Richard's mind wandered back to the family he had seen the previous night. He could still picture the joy on their faces, the genuine connection they shared. In that moment, he questioned the cost of his relentless pursuit of success. Was he willing to sacrifice meaningful relationships for the sake of business? The thought gnawed at him, but he quickly pushed it aside. After all, the world of business was not forgiving. It was a game of power, and he needed to focus on the prize. Suddenly, Richard's phone buzzed, jolting him from his contemplation. It was a text from Mark, reminding him of their planned meeting with the hotel owner later in the day. Richard replied with a brief acknowledgement, mentally preparing his pitch and the value he could offer to the new owner. He could feel the excitement building within him. This was his chance to showcase his expertise and secure a lucrative partnership. After finishing breakfast, Richard decided to take a stroll through the hotel's lavish gardens. The manicured lawns, vibrant flower beds, and serene water features were a beautiful contrast to the bustling city beyond the gates. As he walked, he encountered several hotel staff members, each greeting him with polite smiles. Richard acknowledged them with nods, but inside, he felt a growing discontent. The further he distanced himself from genuine human connection, the more isolated he felt. As he wandered deeper into the garden, he caught sight of a familiar figure, the little girl from the family he had observed the night before. She was playing by a fountain, her laughter echoing in the still air. Her parents stood nearby, enjoying the moment, their expressions filled with warmth and love. Richard felt a strange compulsion to approach them, to engage in a conversation that had nothing to do with business or power. "Good morning," he called out, taking a step closer. The family turned to face him, surprise lighting up their features. "Good morning, sir," the mother replied, her smile radiant. "What a beautiful day it is." "It truly is," Richard said, feeling a warmth spread through him. "I couldn't help but notice how happy you all looked last night. It's refreshing to see a family enjoying their time together." The father chuckled, his eyes crinkling with joy. "Thank you. We believe in making the most of our moments together. Life is too short to not enjoy the little things." Richard felt a pang of longing, his heart aching with the weight of his own solitary existence. "I couldn't agree more. I've been so focused on work lately that I've forgotten to appreciate the moments that truly matter." The little girl beamed at him, her eyes sparkling with innocence. "What do you do for work?" she asked, her curiosity genuine. "I work in business," Richard replied, momentarily unsure of how to explain his career to a child. "I help companies grow and make important decisions." "Do you get to play a lot?" she inquired, tilting her head admirably. Richard hesitated, the question hanging in the air like a forgotten melody. "Not as much as I'd like," he admitted, "but I'm working on it." The mother observed him with a knowing smile, as if she could sense the internal struggle within him. "Sometimes it's easy to get lost in work, but remember, family and joy are just as important as success." Richard nodded, feeling a connection with this family that transcended words. "Thank you for that reminder," he said sincerely. "I've been thinking a lot about what truly matters." Just then, his phone buzzed again, interrupting the moment. It was a reminder for his meeting with the hotel owner. Richard's heart raced as he realized it was almost time to prepare. He felt torn between the warmth of the family and the impending business opportunity that awaited him. "I'm sorry, I have to go," Richard said reluctantly, glancing at the time. "But it was wonderful talking to you. Enjoy the rest of your day." "Likewise," the father replied, and the little girl waved enthusiastically. As Richard walked away, he felt a mix of emotions swirling within him. The interaction had awakened something he had long neglected, a desire for genuine connection, a longing for simplicity. But now he had to focus on the task at hand, to seize the opportunity that lay before him. Richard made his way back to his suite to prepare for the meeting. He meticulously reviewed his notes, crafting the perfect pitch in his mind. He had a clear vision of what he wanted to convey to the new owner, his expertise, his vision for partnership, and the undeniable value he could bring to the table. But in the back of his mind, the family's laughter and their connection lingered, challenging his resolve. As the appointed time approached, Richard dressed with care, choosing a sharp navy suit that conveyed authority. He stood before the mirror, practicing his confident smile, but his mind was scattered, torn between ambition and the yearning for something more profound. Finally, it was time. Richard stepped into the elevator, feeling the familiar adrenaline surging through him. As the doors slid open to the conference room, he was greeted by Mark, who stood waiting with an eager smile. "Ready to make some waves?" Mark asked, clapping Richard on the back. "Absolutely," Richard replied, trying to channel his earlier confidence. They walked into the room together, where the new owner of the Grand Vista awaited them. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation, a palpable tension that spoke to the significance of the moment. Seated at the head of the long conference table was a striking woman in her 40s, radiating authority and charisma. Her name was Alina Hart, the new owner of the Grand Vista. She had built a reputation as an innovative leader in the hospitality industry, transforming struggling hotels into thriving enterprises. Richard had heard whispers about her tenacity and visionary ideas, and he felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "Mr. Hastings, Mr. Kane," she greeted them with a firm handshake. "I appreciate you both making the time to meet with me today." "Thank you for having us, Ms. Hart," Richard replied, his voice steady as he took a seat across from her. "I'm eager to discuss potential collaboration and how we can drive growth for the Grand Vista." Alina studied him intently, her eyes assessing. "I've read about your successes, Richard. Your reputation precedes you. But I'm interested in hearing your vision for this partnership." Richard launched into his carefully prepared pitch, outlining innovative marketing strategies, potential clientele, and the ways they could elevate the Grand Vista's status within the industry. He spoke with passion, drawing on his extensive experience and highlighting the successful ventures he had spearheaded in the past. As he spoke, he noticed Alina's expression shift. At first, she listened intently, her brow furrowed in concentration, but gradually, he could see the skepticism emerging. Richard's confidence began to waver. He was accustomed to winning people over with his charm, but something about Alina's demeanor felt different. Her scrutiny was more than mere interest. It was a challenge. "Richard, your ideas are compelling," she finally interjected, her tone measured. "But what truly sets you apart? Anyone can present grand plans. I'm looking for authenticity and integrity in my partnerships. I've seen too many businessmen chase profit without understanding the value of community and connection." The words hit Richard like a cold wave, pulling him from the comfortable cocoon of his ambition. He felt exposed, as if Alina could see through the polished exterior he had carefully constructed. He hesitated, the image of the family he had met earlier flashing through his mind. They had embodied authenticity, joy, and connection, the very things Alina was asking for. "Ms. Hart," Richard began, his voice steadier now, "I believe in the power of partnerships that go beyond profit margins. In my pursuit of success, I've realized that genuine connections can create a more sustainable and fulfilling business model. I may not have always lived by that principle, but I want to move forward with a focus on authenticity." Alina's gaze softened slightly, her interest piqued. "That's a refreshing perspective, Richard. It's rare to hear someone in your position acknowledge that. But how can I trust that this isn't just a tactic to secure a deal?" Richard took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "You have my word that I'm committed to building a partnership rooted in shared values. I've learned that success isn't just about numbers. It's about creating a legacy and fostering community. If we collaborate, I want it to be a partnership that not only drives growth, but also enriches the lives of those we serve." Alina regarded him carefully, her expression thoughtful. "I appreciate your honesty, Richard. It's clear you're passionate about what you do. I'd like to continue this conversation, but I need time to think it through." "Of course," Richard said, feeling a mixture of relief and hope. "I'd be happy to provide any additional information you need." As the meeting wrapped up, Richard and Mark exchanged glances, both aware that the discussion had taken a turn. The air in the room felt charged, a potential for something new and authentic emerging from the tension. After Alina left the room, Mark turned to Richard, a hint of surprise in his voice. "You handled that well. I didn't expect you to pivot so effectively." Richard shrugged, still processing the unexpected turn of the conversation. "It was eye-opening. I realized I need to rethink my approach, not just for this partnership, but for my life in general." As they walked out of the conference room, Richard felt a new sense of purpose. The encounter had ignited something within him, a desire to create meaningful connections, both in business and in his personal life. He couldn't ignore the impact of the family he had met earlier that day, or the conversations he had engaged in with them. Over the next few days, Richard took the time to reflect on his values and the kind of life he truly wanted to lead. He reached out to friends he hadn't connected with in a while, rekindling relationships that had faded amidst his relentless pursuit of success. He even decided to volunteer at a local community center, hoping to immerse himself in the values of connection and service that had resonated so deeply with him. Richard found himself revisiting the Grand Vista Hotel, not just for business meetings, but also to experience the warmth and joy he had felt when he encountered the family. Each visit was a reminder of the beauty and simplicity and the importance of fostering authentic relationships. One evening, as he strolled through the hotel gardens, he spotted the family again. This time, they were having a picnic on the lawn, laughter ringing through the air. Richard approached them, feeling a sense of familiarity and comfort. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, smiling genuinely. The mother looked up, surprised but welcoming. "Of course. We'd love the company." Richard settled down on the blanket, feeling a sense of ease wash over him. They shared stories and laughter, and he found himself opening up about his life, his struggles, and his aspirations. The family listened intently, their warmth wrapping around him like a comforting embrace. In that moment, Richard realized that true success was not solely defined by the accolades he had achieved, but by the relationships he cultivated along the way. He had been given a second chance to embrace authenticity, and he was determined to seize it. As the sun began to set, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, Richard felt a renewed sense of purpose. He knew that the path ahead would require balance, an ability to merge ambition with connection. He had the power to change not only his life, but also the lives of those around him, creating a legacy rooted in authenticity and love. With every laugh shared and every story told, Richard embraced the journey of transformation that lay ahead, knowing that he was finally on the right path. The encounter with the family, the meeting with Alina, and the newfound sense of connection had sparked a fire within him, a fire that would guide him toward a life filled with both success and fulfillment. The transformation. In the weeks that followed his fortuitous encounter with the family at the Grand Vista Hotel, Richard Hastings found himself undergoing a transformation that he never expected. The sharp edges of his ambition softened, allowing him to appreciate the beauty of human connection. As he delved deeper into this new perspective, he became acutely aware of the contradictions that had defined his life up to that point. Richard's first step in embracing this change was reconnecting with the family. He reached out to them, inviting them for a weekend stay at the Grand Vista, promising an experience that would showcase the luxury and warmth of the hotel. The parents, Melissa and David, were surprised but thrilled at the opportunity, and they quickly accepted his offer. Their young daughter, Zoe, was particularly excited, having made a fast friend in Richard during their previous encounter. As the weekend approached, Richard found himself filled with a mixture of excitement and nerves. He wanted to create a memorable experience for the family, not just as a businessman, but as someone who genuinely wanted to share in their joy. He envisioned a weekend that was about more than luxury. It was about bonding and creating memories that would last a lifetime. When the family arrived, Richard greeted them at the entrance of the hotel, where a lavish red carpet had been rolled out in their honor. "Welcome to the Grand Vista," he announced with a broad smile, gesturing toward the opulence that surrounded them. "I hope you're ready for an unforgettable weekend." Melissa and David exchanged amused glances, clearly not accustomed to such grand gestures, but they appreciated the sentiment. Zoe's eyes widened in wonder, her face lit with excitement as she took in the lavish surroundings. The first stop was a tour of the hotel, where Richard highlighted the beautiful gardens, exquisite dining options, and luxurious amenities. He had arranged for a private tour of the hotel's rooftop pool, where the family could enjoy breathtaking views of the city skyline. "This is one of the best spots in the hotel," Richard said as they stepped onto the rooftop terrace, the sun glinting off the water. "I thought you might like to relax here and take it all in." Zoe immediately ran toward the pool, dipping her toes in the water with delight. Melissa and David shared a look of appreciation, recognizing Richard's genuine effort to make their stay special. "You really know how to show someone a good time," David said, shaking his head in disbelief. Richard chuckled, feeling a warmth spread through him. "It's my pleasure. I want to give you a taste of what it's like to truly enjoy this place." Over the next few days, Richard meticulously planned activities that balanced relaxation and fun. They indulged in gourmet meals prepared by the hotel's acclaimed chef, participated in fun family activities like scavenger hunts in the garden, and even attended a special evening where local musicians performed under the stars. One particular evening stood out, a serene moment etched in Richard's memory. They had gathered on the terrace, where a sumptuous dinner was laid out, the city lights twinkling below them. As they dined on fresh seafood and artisan breads, the conversation flowed easily, punctuated by laughter and shared stories. "I've never experienced anything like this," Melissa admitted, her eyes shining. "It feels surreal, like we're in a movie." "It's not just about luxury," Richard said, feeling his heart swell with sincerity. "It's about creating moments that matter. Moments that remind us of what we have and what we cherish." Zoe, her mouth full of dessert, piped up, "You should come visit us too. We can have a picnic in our backyard." Richard laughed, the sound echoing in the warm evening air. "I'd love that. A backyard picnic sounds perfect. You could show me your favorite games." As the night wore on, the family's warmth enveloped Richard like a cherished embrace. He felt a deep sense of belonging that he had long overlooked, a connection that transcended wealth and status. As the sun set on their final evening, Richard took a moment to reflect on how far he had come since the beginning of his stay at the Grand Vista. The self-centered businessman he once was had begun to fade, replaced by someone eager to engage with the world in a more profound way. He could see the positive impact that nurturing relationships had on his life. It wasn't just about securing lucrative business deals. It was about enriching his life with the connections he formed. The following day, the family prepared to depart. Richard felt a pang of sadness as they loaded their bags into the car. "Thank you for everything, Richard," Melissa said, her voice warm and sincere. "This was one of the best weekends of our lives." Richard smiled, though his heart felt heavy. "It was my pleasure. Please keep in touch. I'd love to hear more about your adventures." As they drove away, Richard stood at the entrance of the hotel, watching them disappear from view. He felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over him. The weekend had illuminated the importance of connection, reminding him of the joys that could be found in sharing life's experiences. As he turned to re-enter the hotel, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. The next day, he met with Elena Hart to discuss potential collaborations for the hotel, and he knew he wanted to present a new vision, one that encompassed not just business strategy but community involvement. Richard spent the evening crafting a presentation that showcased his idea for the Grand Vista, a program that emphasized community engagement and the importance of connection within the hospitality industry. He envisioned the hotel hosting local events that showcased art, music, and culture, creating a space where guests could not only experience luxury, but also connect with the community in meaningful ways. A ripple effect. As the vibrant energy of the Grand Vista Hotel continued to attract locals and travelers alike, Richard Hastings began to notice a transformation not just within himself, but within the entire hotel community. The success of the recent events was a clear indication that his vision for a community-focused establishment was resonating, sparking a ripple effect that extended far beyond the hotel's luxurious walls. The art showcases and community gatherings quickly became the talk of the town, drawing in an eclectic mix of artists, entrepreneurs, and families. Richard found himself at the center of this movement, driven by a sense of purpose that had previously eluded him. No longer was he solely a businessman chasing the next big deal. He was now a catalyst for connection, a facilitator of creativity and community spirit. One afternoon, Richard received an email from Alina Hart, the hotel's new owner, inviting him to discuss the hotel's success and future plans. Their initial collaboration had exceeded expectations, and the two had developed a strong professional rapport. They met in the hotel's elegant lounge, where sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the space with a warm glow. "Richard," Elena began, her voice laced with excitement, "the community engagement initiatives have exceeded our expectations. We've seen a surge in bookings, and people are genuinely excited about what we're doing here. I think we have a unique opportunity to expand this concept further." Richard nodded, feeling a swell of pride. "I believe we can make the Grand Vista a hub for not only hospitality, but also cultural exchange. We could host workshops, cooking classes, and even speaker series that highlight local leaders and innovators." Alina leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "That's an excellent idea. Imagine bringing in local chefs to showcase their cuisine, or hosting events where community leaders can share their stories. This could foster collaboration between the hotel and local businesses." The two spent hours brainstorming ideas, sketching out plans for the next wave of events. Richard felt invigorated by Alina's vision, recognizing that they were both committed to creating something meaningful. As they wrapped up the meeting, he couldn't help but feel grateful for the unexpected turn his life had taken since meeting the family at the hotel. Over the next few months, the Grand Vista Hotel blossomed into a cultural epicenter. They hosted a monthly culinary night, featuring local chefs who prepared signature dishes, while guests enjoyed live music from local artists. The events were always packed, and Richard reveled in the atmosphere of creativity and camaraderie. One particularly memorable evening featured a renowned local chef who prepared a multi-course meal inspired by family recipes. As the guests savored the exquisite flavors, Richard noticed the blend of different backgrounds and cultures around the tables. Conversations flowed freely, laughter echoed in the air, and strangers became friends. During one of these events, Richard met a young woman named Maya, an aspiring chef with a passion for sustainable cooking. She had recently opened a small catering business in the city, but struggled to find her footing. When Richard learned about her challenges, he felt compelled to help. "Maya, why don't we collaborate for an upcoming culinary night?" he suggested, excitement evident in his voice. "You could showcase your dishes, and I can promote your business through the hotel's marketing channels." Maya's eyes widened with surprise. "Really? That would be amazing. I've been trying to gain more exposure, but it's tough to compete with larger establishments." Richard smiled, feeling a sense of fulfillment in extending a helping hand. "It's a win-win. You get a platform to showcase your talent, and we get to offer our guests something unique. Let's make it happen." As the culinary night approached, Maya poured her heart into preparing a menu that reflected her vision of sustainable dining. Richard supported her every step of the way, from promoting the event on social media to helping with the logistics of the evening. On the night of the event, the hotel buzzed with energy. Guests filled the dining room, eagerly awaiting Maya's culinary creations. As she stepped into the kitchen, Richard could see the nervous excitement on her face. He approached her, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You've got this, Maya. Just be yourself and let your passion shine through." When the first course was served, the room fell silent, and Richard watched as guests savored the flavors. The dish was a vibrant salad featuring locally sourced vegetables and herbs, drizzled with a tangy vinaigrette. Cheers erupted from the crowd as Maya's talent shone through. When the meeting day arrived, Richard felt a mix of nervousness and excitement. He was no longer presenting a cold, calculated business strategy, but a heartfelt vision rooted in the values he had recently embraced. As he entered the conference room, he found Alina already seated, reviewing notes. "Good morning, Richard," she greeted, looking up with curiosity. "I'm eager to hear what you've come up with." "Thank you, Alina. I appreciate the opportunity to share my vision," he began, his voice steady as he launched into his presentation. He spoke passionately about the importance of creating authentic connections, both with guests and the community. Alina listened intently, her expression shifting as he articulated his ideas. "You want to turn the Grand Vista into more than just a luxury hotel," she said, a thoughtful smile spreading across her face. "You're advocating for it to become a community hub, a place where people feel connected." Richard nodded, feeling his confidence build. "Exactly. Imagine hosting local artists, musicians, and community events. We could create an atmosphere that reflects the culture of the city while enhancing the hotel's reputation." Alina leaned back, considering his proposal. "It's a bold idea, Richard. It deviates from the traditional luxury hotel model, but I can see the potential for something truly unique." As the conversation flowed, Richard felt a sense of liberation. This was not just a business pitch, it was an invitation for collaboration rooted in shared values. The meeting concluded with Alina expressing interest in further developing the concept. In the days that followed, Richard worked closely with Alina to bring their vision to life. Together, they organized community events at the hotel, inviting local artists to showcase their work and musicians to perform. The response was overwhelmingly positive, with guests expressing excitement about the opportunity to engage with the local culture. As the Grand Vista Hotel became more intertwined with the community, Richard's perspective shifted further. He began attending events outside of work, immersing himself in local culture and connecting with people from all walks of life. He found joy in exploring the city's vibrant art scene, attending performances, and even volunteering at community centers. Richard's transformation did not go unnoticed. His colleagues began to see him in a new light, less of a ruthless businessman, and more as a leader with a heart. They admired his passion for making the Grand Vista a beacon of connection and community. One evening, during a local art showcase at the hotel, Richard was approached by a familiar face. It was David, the father from the family he had hosted weeks earlier. "Richard," David exclaimed, extending his hand with a friendly smile. "I can't believe it's you. We saw the event advertised and had to come. It's incredible what you're doing here." Richard felt a rush of warmth at the sight of David and his family. "It's great to see you. I'm glad you could make it. Your encouragement during that weekend truly inspired me." David's eyes lit up with appreciation. "It's wonderful to see someone like you using their influence for good. Our community needs more people who care, and it looks like you've made a real difference." As they spoke, Richard felt a deep sense of fulfillment. His journey had come full circle, from a man focused solely on ambition to someone who understood the value of connection and community. He realized that the relationships he nurtured were just as important as the business deals he forged. The event continued, filled with laughter, art, and music. Richard moved through the crowd, engaging with guests and artists alike. As he stood in the midst of the lively atmosphere, he felt a profound sense of belonging. This was what he had been missing: human connection, community, and the joy of shared experiences. Later that evening, as the event wound down, Richard found a quiet corner to reflect. He gazed out at the city skyline, illuminated by the glow of streetlights and the moonlight. The journey had been challenging, filled with self-discovery and transformation, but he wouldn't trade it for anything. In that moment, Richard understood that true success was not measured by the size of his bank account or the titles he held, but by the connections he made and the impact he had on the lives of others. He was no longer just Richard Hastings, the millionaire businessman. He was Richard Hastings, a man who had rediscovered the power of authenticity and community. And as he turned to join the festivities once more, he felt ready for whatever lay ahead, equipped with a renewed sense of purpose and a heart open to all the possibilities the future would bring. Throughout the evening, Richard noticed how the event fostered connections not just between guests but among local businesses. Many attendees approached Maya after the meal, expressing their admiration and discussing potential collaborations. Richard felt a deep sense of satisfaction, knowing he had played a role in helping her dreams take flight. In the following weeks, Maya's catering business gained traction, thanks in part to the exposure she received at the Grand Vista. Richard continued to support her by featuring her dishes at future events, and they forged a friendship built on mutual respect and shared values. As the Grand Vista's reputation as a community hub grew, Richard received an unexpected call from a local nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering underprivileged youth. They wanted to collaborate with the hotel to host a fundraising gala to support their programs. The organization's mission resonated with Richard's newfound purpose, and he eagerly agreed. The gala planning began in earnest, and Richard found himself fully immersed in the project. He reached out to local businesses for sponsorships and organized a silent auction featuring items donated by the community. As the date approached, excitement filled the air. On the night of the gala, the Grand Vista was transformed into a dazzling venue. The dining room was adorned with elegant decorations, twinkling lights, and beautiful centerpieces created by local florists. Guests mingled, their spirits high as they gathered to support a worthy cause. Richard stood at the front of the room, ready to address the crowd. As he took the microphone, he felt a wave of emotion wash over him. "Thank you all for being here tonight. It's incredible to see so many familiar faces, all united for a common purpose. Together, we are not only supporting this wonderful organization, but also fostering a sense of community that extends far beyond these walls." Applause erupted as Richard spoke about the importance of investing in the future of their city's youth. He shared stories of local success and how the organization had made a difference in the lives of countless individuals. As the evening progressed, Richard watched in awe as attendees opened their hearts and their wallets. The silent auction brought in remarkable bids, and donations poured in, exceeding all expectations. He felt a deep sense of gratitude for being part of something bigger than himself. When the night came to a close, Richard received a heartfelt thank you from the organization's director. "You've made a tremendous impact tonight, Richard. This event will change lives. Thank you for your support." As he left the gala, Richard felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment. The ripple effect he had initiated continued to grow, impacting not only the hotel, but also the broader community. Each event, collaboration, and connection created a web of support, creativity, and inspiration. Days turned into weeks, and Richard remained dedicated to nurturing these connections. He continued to invite local artists and entrepreneurs to showcase their talents at the Grand Vista, transforming the hotel into a space where people could come together, share ideas, and celebrate creativity. One afternoon, as Richard was walking through the hotel's garden, he spotted Zoe, the little girl from the family he had hosted months earlier. She was sitting on a bench, drawing in a sketchbook. Richard approached her, a smile spreading across his face. "Hey there, Zoe. What are you working on?" Zoe looked up, her face lighting up with recognition. "Hi, Mr. Richard. I'm drawing the flowers. They're so pretty here." Richard sat beside her, intrigued by her artistic spirit. "You have a real talent." Have you thought about showcasing your art? Zoe shrugged, her youthful innocence evident. I don't know. I just like to draw for fun. Richard nodded, his mind racing with ideas. What if we had a special day at the hotel where kids like you could display their artwork? We could invite families to come and see it. It could inspire other kids to create too. Zoe's eyes sparkled with excitement. That would be awesome. Can we really do that? Absolutely. I'll make it happen, Richard promised, feeling invigorated by the thought of nurturing the next generation's creativity. Over the following weeks, Richard organized a family art day at the Grand Vista. He reached out to local schools, inviting children to submit their artwork for display. The event promised to be a celebration of creativity and community, and Richard felt a sense of joy knowing he could provide a platform for young artists. On the day of the event, the hotel buzzed with energy. Families filled the garden, and Richard watched as children proudly displayed their drawings and paintings. Zoe's artwork was prominently featured, and she beamed with pride as guests admired her creations. "Look at all these amazing pieces," Richard exclaimed, kneeling beside Zoe as they looked at her artwork. "You've inspired so many people today." As families engaged in activities and explored the artwork, Richard felt a sense of fulfillment wash over him. He realized that the work he had started months ago had blossomed into a movement that embraced connection, creativity, and community. That afternoon, while mingling with the guests, Richard overheard a conversation that struck a chord. A mother was speaking to another parent about how her son had struggled to find confidence in his artistic abilities. After attending the event, he had felt encouraged to pursue his passion for art. Richard smiled, knowing that the ripple effect of his efforts was creating a lasting impact. He approached the mother, introducing himself and expressing his excitement about the event. "I'm so glad to hear your son is feeling inspired. Art has a beautiful way of building confidence in kids." As the day came to a close, Richard reflected on the journey he had taken since that fateful encounter with the family at the hotel. He felt a deep sense of gratitude for the lessons learned and the connections made. The once ambitious businessman had evolved into a community advocate, a supporter of local talent, and a mentor to the next generation. That night, as he sat in his suite, Richard gazed out at the city skyline, illuminated by countless lights. The hotel, once just a place for business deals, had transformed into a beacon of hope, creativity, and collaboration. He knew the journey was far from over, but he felt a renewed sense of purpose, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. As Richard drifted off to sleep, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was exactly where he was meant to be, leading with authenticity, fostering connections, and nurturing the vibrant tapestry of the community he had come to love. A legacy of change. As the weeks turned into months, Richard Hastings found himself deeply immersed in his dual roles as a businessman and a community advocate. The Grand Vista Hotel had evolved into a vibrant hub, bustling with creativity, connection, and purpose. Events that once revolved solely around luxury and profit now focused on inclusivity and cultural exchange, reflecting the heartbeat of the community it served. The recent Family Art Day had been a resounding success, and its positive impact reverberated throughout the hotel and beyond. Richard felt a sense of pride as he witnessed families returning to the hotel, their faces alight with joy as they shared stories of creativity, connection, and the newfound confidence their children had gained. On a particularly sunny Saturday afternoon, Richard was hosting a cultural heritage festival at the Grand Vista, celebrating the diverse backgrounds that shaped the local community. He had reached out to various cultural organizations, inviting them to showcase their traditions, food, and artistry. The hotel's garden was transformed into a vibrant marketplace, adorned with colorful banners and lively music. As he surveyed the bustling scene, Richard felt a sense of fulfillment wash over him. Families strolled through the gardens, sampling delicious foods from around the world, listening to live performances, and engaging with artists showcasing their crafts. Children laughed and danced, their joyous spirits a reflection of the inclusive environment Richard had worked so hard to create. While walking through the festival, Richard was approached by a group of local artists who had been inspired by the hotel's commitment to community engagement. They had gathered to discuss an upcoming initiative aimed at creating public murals that would beautify neglected areas of the city. "Richard, we wanted to speak with you about our vision," said Alex, a talented muralist. "We believe that art can transform spaces and foster a sense of pride in the community. We're looking for support to help bring this vision to life." Richard's eyes lit up with excitement. "I love it. Art has the power to change perceptions and create a sense of belonging. How can I help?" The artists discussed their plans for the murals, highlighting various locations that could benefit from vibrant artwork. They envisioned collaborative projects that would involve local schools and youth programs, allowing students to participate in the creative process and learn valuable skills. "I can connect you with the city council to discuss permits and funding," Richard offered. "And perhaps we can host a fundraising event at the hotel to gather additional support." The artists exchanged enthusiastic glances, their dreams feeling more attainable with Richard's backing. "That would be amazing." "Thank you, Richard. Your support means the world to us," Alex said, his voice filled with gratitude. As they parted ways, Richard felt a renewed sense of purpose. This was precisely why he had redirected his focus from profit-driven endeavors to community-building initiatives. The Grand Vista was no longer just a luxury hotel. It was a vessel for change, a place where dreams could take flight. In the weeks that followed, Richard worked closely with the artists and the city council to ensure the mural project came to fruition. They organized a fundraising gala at the Grand Vista, inviting community members, local businesses, and artists to contribute. The evening was filled with excitement, with live performances, a silent auction featuring local art, and inspiring speeches about the transformative power of art in public spaces. As guests mingled and bid on auction items, Richard took the opportunity to share his vision for the project. He spoke passionately about the importance of art in nurturing community identity and fostering pride among residents. The enthusiasm in the room was palpable as people rallied behind the cause, eager to support the initiative. When the night concluded, Richard felt overwhelmed by the outpouring of support. The funds raised far exceeded their expectations, ensuring that the mural project could move forward with vigor. Inspired by the collective energy of the community, Richard made a commitment to keep the momentum going. As the mural project took shape over the following months, Richard visited the sites frequently, engaging with the artists and the community. He witnessed firsthand the impact of their work, as neighborhoods transformed into vibrant canvases bursting with life and color. The murals told stories of resilience, hope, and unity that resonated with everyone who passed by. During one visit to a newly completed mural, Richard encountered Zoe, the little girl who had inspired the family art day. She stood in awe, gazing up at the towering artwork that depicted a colorful representation of the community's diverse heritage. "Zoe, what do you think?" Richard asked, crouching down to her level. "It's amazing. Look at all the colors. It's like everyone is part of it," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Richard smiled, realizing the significance of what they had accomplished together. "Exactly. This mural represents all of us, our stories, and our dreams. And you're a part of it too." Zoe beamed with pride, her confidence shining through as she exclaimed, "I want to help paint the next one." Encouraged by her enthusiasm, Richard promised to involve her in future projects, ensuring that the voices of young artists would always be heard. This engagement not only inspired Zoe, but also encouraged many other children in the community to express their creativity and participate in the artistic process. As the city continued to blossom with vibrant murals, Richard found himself increasingly recognized as a leader in community engagement. He received invitations to speak at various events and conferences, sharing his journey of transformation from a businessman focused solely on profit to a community advocate fostering creativity and connection. During one notable conference, Richard took the stage, reflecting on the profound impact that embracing authenticity had on his life and the lives of those around him. When we shift our focus from personal gain to collective well-being, we create a powerful ripple effect, he said passionately. Investing in our communities doesn't just change our surroundings, it changes us. We find purpose, connection, and fulfillment in the most unexpected ways. The audience responded with enthusiastic applause, and Richard felt a sense of validation for the path he had chosen. The journey hadn't been easy. It had been filled with challenges, moments of doubt, and difficult choices. But every step had led him to a place of profound joy and fulfillment. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Richard returned to the Grand Vista, his heart brimming with gratitude. As he walked through the hotel, he was greeted by familiar faces, artists, local business owners, and families who had become part of his extended community. In the lobby, he noticed a group of children gathered around a large canvas, their brushes swirling with colors. They were creating a mural that would be displayed in the hotel, a collaborative effort that captured the essence of the community's spirit. Richard approached the group, a smile spreading across his face. "This looks incredible. What's the theme?" he asked. "We're calling it Together We Rise," one of the kids exclaimed, proudly pointing to their contributions. Richard felt a surge of pride, knowing that he had played a role in fostering this creative outlet for the next generation. "I can't wait to see it finished. You all are doing an amazing job." As he stepped outside onto the terrace, Richard paused, gazing at the city skyline bathed in the golden glow of the setting sun. The Grand Vista stood tall, a beacon of hope and community engagement, a testament to the transformative power of art and connection. In that moment of reflection, Richard understood that his journey was not just about building a successful hotel or securing lucrative business deals. It was about creating a legacy rooted in authenticity, compassion, and community. He realized that every interaction, every event, and every mural was a testament to the profound impact that could arise from embracing the power of collaboration and creativity. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting vibrant hues across the sky, Richard felt a renewed sense of purpose swell within him. There were countless more stories to tell, connections to foster, and lives to inspire. Richard Hastings was no longer just a businessman. He was a champion of change, a catalyst for creativity, and a legacy builder in the community he had come to love. And as he turned to enter the Grand Vista once more, he felt ready to embrace whatever challenges and opportunities lay ahead, knowing that he was on a journey of a lifetime, one that would continue to inspire and uplift the lives of others for generations to come.